poor man came in sight. And then almost like that 4th fret section before, gathering winter fuel. And it goes up to the 3rd fret. Ooh, ow. And it gets phrased different ways depending on which version you're singing. And then the chords, there's a number of different ways you find this chorded. Good King, starting with a D. Oh, one other thing, if you'll notice underneath the bold black D, I have lighter gray letters for chords. The D bold black ones and the G gray ones are for the D strumstick and the G strumstick. So in the family songbook, most of the songs in there that have chords in them are bichordal, so that we're giving you the key of G chords and the key of D chords for if you're playing a G strumstick. So I'm playing in key of D, so I'm only going to mention the bold black chords for D. So we got D, good King Wenceslas looked out, G on the, and then A, feast of D, Stephen, and the same thing again, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Now, instead of playing this A, you could take the G chord that you're doing, which is normally done here and here, flip this finger over to the 3rd string and use that form of G. So you're on, 2nd string 1st fret and 3rd string 3rd fret with the pinky, and then slide that up 1 fret and you get a sort of an open chord that functions like an A chord. So you could go on the feast of Stephen or Stephen or Stephen, depending whether you want to play the D as all the open strings or 3rd string 2nd fret or 1st string 2nd fret. So from the top, good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even, brightly shone the moon that night. Now I made a change here from what's written. I tend to sing it with a brightly is still a D. Brightly shone the moon that night, and moon is the B minor. However, the way this particular version we had written out quite some years ago, we did brightly shone the moon that night, which also sounds great. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, and I'm doing that same G to this open sounding A. Frost was cruel when a poor man came in sight. You could use the regular A instead of this one here, because we're not doing that slide from the G. When a poor man came in sight. You could also change the A from sight to over here, came. When a poor man came in sight. When a poor man came in sight. I'd say stick with the way it's written. When a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. Or when you're down here at this B minor, you could go to the D and then B minor at winter. Gathering winter. Let me figure that again. When a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. Gathering winter fuel. So it would be the B minor on few, and then the G on the next syllable of U, and then the D on L. So because it's fuel, so you could have fuel, or you could have gathering winter fuel. You could hold the B minor all the way through few. Gathering winter fuel. Or you could change to the G on few. Gathering winter fuel. So there's some slippery discretion you can apply to how you want these chords to change. And you could, even in different verses, do those changes a little differently. Mostly, if I'm playing it by myself, I tend to do the B minor on moon. So D, 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 B minor. G, A, D, D, then D, 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 A, D, 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 B minor, G, D. But there is something really kind of haunting with that B minor coming in on gathering, gathering, and it's because the melody note you're singing, gather, gathering, gathering, sorry, gathering winter. This is an A note that doesn't go with a B minor. It makes a kind of a suspended chord, a chord with an extra note in it that kind of hangs there in a spooky, shimmering kind of way. So if you're singing that, ga, but you're playing B minor, ga, it's kind of a, you know, sort of beginnings of a jazz chord. Gathering winter fuel. You could also go gathering winter fuel. Go, watch this. This is B minor, D here, and then B minor again on few. Gathering winter fuel. And then when you get those quick chord changes like that, gathering winter fuel, those block chords like that really change the feeling of the melody. Gathering winter fuel. Sorry, gathering winter fuel. And it's almost like, you know, a different chord on every melody note, or every pair of melody notes. Is that something you find a lot in piano arrangements for hymns in churches? Often you'll find that there's a fresh chord every couple of melody notes, which helps guide the singers along as to where the song is going melodically. Because a lot of, you know, if you're singing a hymn that you've sung, you know, hundreds of times because you're a regular churchgoer, you know all the hymns. But for the benefit of people who are new to the congregation or just, you know, they're infrequent visitors to church, the more they can lead the people in the participation of the singing, the better experience everyone has. And that's one of the reasons for those chords changing all the time. You find a lot in organ and piano arrangements for hymns. And this kind of emulates that. Gathering winter fuel, gathering winter fuel. There we go. Okay, so that's the chords. There's the basic melody. Now you can just strum everything and finger chords when you can fit it in, or you can just do the melody or just do the chords. If you're going to lead a little holiday sing-along or something, you can obviously just strum those chords all the way through the verses. But we're going to do a quick look at putting the notes and the chords together. So it's it's just popping a finger on while you do the open D. Good King Wenceslas lost lookout. Now on the G, on the feast of Stephen. So all those notes are right in those chords except for having to lift up the first finger briefly on the G for the zero over the word the. On the feast. See, there's a nice, again, a kind of an open suspended chord there. On the feast of Stephen. Second line the same. When the snow lay round about. Now, a lot of times if I'm doing this open D, if I've got a spare strum, I'll finger this note here just to get a little feeling of a slightly different chord happening, like maybe between the first line and the second line. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen when the snow lay round about. You see, I just put when the snow lay round about. When the snow lay round about. When the snow lay round. Whoops, sorry. When the snow lay round about. When the snow lay round about. Sorry, I'm thinking in my head all at the same time. When the snow lay round about. So that you can always pop that note in, and if you leave it there while you're fingering another note and you like the harmony, leave it there, or otherwise get rid of it when you go to the first fret note. When the snow lay round about, keep on crispin' even. Now when you're going even, you could be going even. Again, just to get a little variety in the chord change. Okay, now if you're fingering the B minor, brightly shone, it's very difficult to get this note fingered while you're fingering this chord. But if you dropped this note down an octave to here, brightly shone the moon that night, brightly shone the moon that night, brightly shone the moon that night. That's an octave lower, and that's within range of fingering this B minor. Brightly shone the moon that night, brightly shone the moon that night. Something like that. Brightly shone the moon. Maybe a little that night. If you wanted to keep it all on the B minor. If you're going to the D, moon that night, to the D, though the frost was cruel. So that's, and you're fingering this G, though picking up this finger, frost, put down the second finger or the third finger at the second fret, though the frost was. That's a dissonant chord, but it's just in passing, so it just gives some energy to the chord change there. I mean, to the melody change. Though the frost was cruel, though the frost was cruel. Now, I find if I'm putting all three, if I've got the pinky down and I got the second finger down and the first finger down, it's more physical effort on the squeeze here. So I tend to go, though the frost was. I'm going to lift this finger up and rock my hand slightly this way, which helps me bring that finger up and also puts my leverage on these two fingers. So that's done slowly. So I'm on the second string, though the frost was cruel, and I'm fingering though the frost. Now I'm putting this finger down and picking this one up and just kind of pushing a little towards that side. Was cruel. Then when the poor man came inside, when the poor man came inside. Now again, we can't get gathering winter fuel while fingering this B minor. So we could do the octave lower. Gathering the one thing, let's say if we fingered this B minor, now that's a little awkward. So let's do this. Let's just move that B minor. Whoop, I can't get around my strumstick here. Let's move that B minor over here to few and get out of the way of that. So then we can go, gathering winter fuel, if you're playing the melody along with the chords. Gathering, so it's D, 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 B minor, D, D. Okay, so there we have the strumming the melody, strumming the chords. The first thing we're going to do to kind of pretty this up is to approach it as a finger picking melody, and we're going to just be going thumb two, thumb two. I'm sorry, thumb one, thumb one, thumb one, thumb one. And again, thumb one, first finger, thumb, first finger, thumb, first finger, thumb, first finger. So the thumb is handling strings 3 and 4, the first finger's alternating between them on the first string. Now, because the melody to the song doesn't go third string, first string, second string, first string, third string, first string, second string, first string, you have to alter the pattern you're doing a little bit to get some of the notes. but you could just think in terms of doing this. If you were just going to keep going like that, and you just fingered the melody, and if you hit the string when you were fingering it, good. If you didn't, too bad, so sad. So it's almost like a ghost melody, and when you put your finger down, like when you're on the first fret, you get a little ting, almost like you're hammering on, even if you haven't plucked the string yet. Ting, ting. So that gives you a little hint of that note is there. So if you want to work on that, a good way to work on it is to take your pick. And this is not finger picking now, but if you take your pick, and I'm going to, for the sake of clarity here, I'm going to just muffle. I'm shifted on the screen so you can see these words without the Strumstick being behind those tablature lines. So I have to remember to scooch around a little bit here. Okay, so I'm resting my forearm against the bridge just to quiet this down. Now, and I'm just going to strum like this. I'm just going to go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, because if I were finger picking, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? Okay, so with the rhythm strumming, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Now, if you just did that, instead of going, good King Wenceslas looked out, you could go, good King Wenceslas looked out, which is sort of like going, good King, like each syllable if you added the offbeat to it. Good King Wenceslas, whatever that would be. You get the idea. Tongue twister. So it would be, good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. So you'd simply play those notes at the right time and just let this hand go in automatic. And again, if I didn't muffle the strings, it'd get a little crashy. But with that little muffle, good King Wenceslas. I'm going to play it once fast and then I'll slow it down. And that's a really fun sound. It's a great way if you're going to play through the different verses to have a different sort of texture and a different approach to each verse. That's a great one to do in there. It kind of hushes it down and energizes it up at the same time. And that's not an easy trick to do, but those two things do it. The muffle hushes it down and the da-da-da-da-da-da busies it up. So here it is slowly. I'll just change the beat to, instead of going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even, brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when the poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. Okay, so it's sort of interminable and agonizingly slow when you slow it down, but that would give you a chance to sort of practice that and see what's going on a little more clearly. And just a brief bit of it at the upper speed. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. And that's a very playable and performable tempo to do that at, once you get used to getting that rhythm on automatic and then just fingering the notes. So having done that and gotten a little comfortable doing that with just going down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, the finger picking just replaces the down, up, down, up. And 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then because you've just gotten used to playing the melody with a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and going, you just do that again and don't worry about which string you're hitting when on the picking side. So sometimes the melody note's going to be like this first fret note on the second string and you haven't hit that string. Too bad, so sad. It'll all sort of flow together if you listen to it. I'll play it fast first. And I'll try not to fudge the finger picking to steal in some deliberate notes, which is the next step. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen when the snow. See, the next step we do is you can shift where the note happens a half beat early or a half beat late to catch it with the finger if it's on the first string, which does wonderful, nice little jazzy things to the rhythm. But if I do that, then it doesn't show you what you're doing. So I'm not going to sing while I do it so I can concentrate on what I'm doing. So it creates kind of a syncopated melody sometimes because you're hearing the melody note a half beat late just in the regular finger picking. Like that. Now if you're finger picking and singing it, good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. Brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, when a poor man came in sight, gathering winter fuel. And then those little syncopations become almost like a little echo behind you singing the note on the right syllable. So that's a substitute for doing the chords. Now, if you just fingered the chords while you're finger picking, and remember with D, you've got this one, or this one, or this one, or this one. You could finger any of those chords for D. I'm going to... Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. And that makes a button, dot, dot, button, dot, dot, button, dot, kind of a... which is a nice little, almost a melody, a counter melody, following the regular melody. So, good King Wenceslas looked out. It's just doing the chords. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen when the snow lay round about. Two different D chords, deep and crisp and even, but that could have been deep and crisp and even, deep and crisp and even, deep and crisp and even. And since it happens on two verses, maybe the first time you've got on the feast of Stephen, do it down low with the lower note on the chord. When must looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even, and the upper one on the second time. And it's like, well, it's the same chords, but it's kind of not the same chords, so it's got a different flavor to it. Or just do that change from verse to verse or something like that. So when you're finger picking, you expose the notes of the chords in different ways compared to when you're strumming, because when you're strumming, you're hearing them in a burst all at once, whereas finger picking, so you hear a little, almost an implied little sort of internal melody just from the finger picking on the notes. It's breaking the chord into its constituent parts and hearing them one after the other rather than all at the same time. But they do ring a little, so you hear this note, and it starts to fade away just when you hear this note. So it's a wonderful sort of a three-dimensional representation of the chord instead of a blast all at once. Both great, both interesting sounds, and each with a different sort of emotional impact and effect. Okay, so we've done the finger picking, the melody with just doing the melody. I think I won't go in now to. I'll go into it very briefly. If you're going to try to modify the finger picking in order to catch notes close to when they belong time-wise, so if you've got good King Wenceslas looked out, one thing you can do, this is three notes the same, right? Open, 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 but second string, third fret is the same note. Good King Wenceslas, good King. So if I finger this note, good, and I don't play the good, I play just the bass note for the good, 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 good. It's like the good note gets provided, but a half beat later. Good, King, and then my thumb hits this note, King, good, King, good, King, good, King, good, King, Wentz, good, King, good King Wen. Now it should be Wences, but so we're going to get that note in late. Good King Wences, Wences, lost looked. So still fingering this note. Looked out. Now watch. I'm going to move my thumb instead of starting on the third string. I'm going to start it on the second string, and I'm just going to go. Second string, first string, second string, first string, second, first string, as long as I need to. So I'm doing my finger picking pattern from 3 strings. I'm condensing it to 2. Thumb 1, thumb 1, thumb 1, same rhythm, but second string, first string, second string, first string, second string, first string. So on the feast of, slowly, on the feast of Stephen. So it's kind of like cheating the pattern to push your thumb to grab the notes on the second string at the time that you wanted them. Good, good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of. Now, here I could go Stephen again, but I think I'll go Stephen and let only half the Stevens get played. So, on the feast of Stephen. Because we've been, second string, first string only for quite a while there. On the feast of Stephen. And then it opens up again when you get that relative bass note in there. So that's the kind of things you can do to fudge the melody underneath the finger picking pattern. And the other thing is that a note can be a half beat early or a half beat late if you finger it so that the first finger catches it on the offbeat, and that's the note, and it should have been on the beat just before that, no problem. Should be coming in another half beat from now, but you're squinching it in early so it gets covered. That's okay too. And I'll leave that to your experimentation. We may talk about that more on another time. The intricacies of working melodies into finger picking is a broad and complex field that varies completely from song to song and section by section within a song. So we'll leave that for now. The next little step I want to do before we get truly funky with this is I want to show you playing an octave higher. So we've got da, 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 da. Well, those notes are up here an octave higher. Da, 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 da. Now, if the tablets were written out and it went 8, 8, 8, 9, 8, 8, 8 on the second string, then you wouldn't have to think about it, and you would just read the notes and you would do whatever, 8, 6, 5, 9, whatever they were up there. But there's a quick way that you can kind of translate a melody down here up to an octave higher, and that's because you just take this 8th fret, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, See, there's just 4 frets that are close together, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. And it's the top one of those. So visually, you don't have to think, oh, fret number 8. It's this one here that's at the top of that little box where they're close together. And sometimes when people look at the fretboard, they don't really see the frets. They kind of see the space in between the frets. So you could say, oh, there's these 3 small spaces, and it's the top fret or the top space of those 3 small spaces. Whatever way you process information, work with it. So, but anyway, so I'm going to just treat this as though it's 0. It's though it's the open note. So if I had 0, 0, 0, 1, so now I'm using my first finger to do the 0. So I've only got these 3 fingers available to do the other frets, say. Just bear with me. 0, 0, 0, 1, 0, 0. Now I need a 0 on the second string. So I just move this finger over, or maybe I held them both down to begin with, because now I know I need it. The da 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 da. Yes, right hand. That's all in the first string, and then second string, and then okay. Now one of the fun things, I have a little reverb on here to make it. That was a car outside. That wasn't my reverb. Why motorcycles in 32-degree weather are always entertaining. Here we go. Okay, so the reverb's off. You may or may not hear any difference, but what I want you to hear is this. Oh, sorry. See, those high notes have a very chime-like ringing sound. So a wonderful way to introduce this song, like an instrumental introduction before starting to sing it, would be to play through the whole melody up here high, very cold, crystalline winter nights kind of tones. If you could have a wind howling in the background. It would be so much the better, but forgive me there. So, but listen, I'll just do that so you can hear the quality of those notes. And that high-pitched ring kind of echoes in the body of the strumstick. You could make the tempo very free. Now, for this note here, if we were at 0, 1, 2, 3, there's the 4th fret. You could maybe reach it with your pinky, but you don't have to. You could just shift over to your 3rd finger there and let go of this note. Now we need, and brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel. Now this note here, which is 2nd fret on the 2nd string when you're playing it down here. See, there's no note lower than 1st string open on the 1st string, but there is a note lower than 1st string open when you're an octave higher. So there's a note lower than 8, which is 7. And that's the same note that our substitute 2nd fret on the 2nd string is. So it's almost like we put a capo here. So that's now 0, and that's 1, and that's 2. So that's fret 2 relative to where I would be holding all the strings. So instead of fingering that note, I could finger this note. So when you play up the neck and you're in an upper octave, you often have alternate fingerings for the same note. And that's why I'm mentioning that. that might be easier. So if you think about fingers 1, 2, and 3 as a sort of as a work crew, and your hand is the truck, you can take the work gang wherever you need it to do the things you're going to do. So if you bring the work gang up here to 4th fret, so 3 will take this one, and 2 will take this one, and 1 will take this one, and then or so there's a series of fingerings for that, and so we have that going up there. And then if you want to get really fancy, same idea, again, up to speed. Sorry. I fudged a note or two there. But what's fun about that is when you speed the finger picking up to speed, nobody's going to know what you're doing. So if your note's early, if a note's late, if you missed a note, if you hit the 3rd string when you meant to hit the 2nd string, no one's going to know or care because it's all this tumbling shimmer of notes, So that's one of the beauties of finger picking is it makes it's not like you're following a da 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 and you're sort of in your brain going up 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 and down 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 down. Now you've got up down left right boom 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 boom. It's like watching the Harlem Globetrotters pass the basketball around. So you don't know who's got it and who's going to get it next. So that finger picking, especially in this little upper thing here, you've got all kinds of room for accidental creativity in there. Okay, so now that's all the little pieces are now in place. So one of my favorite versions of Wenceslas is, of course, the Mannheim Steamroller version on their Fresh Air Christmas album, which came out these many years ago, but it's become a standard in my household to listen to in the holidays, and it's got that kind of jazzy. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the keys of Stephen. Okay, so it's kind of like a beat interpretation of it, and that makes me think of the hand jive rhythm. So that's not quite the rhythm I think that they're playing, but they're sort of almost implying that with a couple different instruments. So what if we played Good King Wenceslas in a different rhythm than we're used to? So our straight rhythm, Good King, that's like a march, just a straight 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. You could do it as a skipping rhythm. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round the clouds, brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel, and the poor man came in sight, having to fill Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. So there's a whole nother way you could interpret that, and that's with doing the 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, and then triplets. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, down, up, down, down, up, down. And we've talked about the triplets before. I'm not going to go deeply into them for this because I want to get to that hand jive rhythm. But that skipping rhythm is kind of a stepping stone to the hand jive rhythm. So the triplets are, if you go down, up, down, you're going 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. But you could also count that as 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. But each alternating group of 3 would be different because one would be down, up, down, and the next would be up, down, up. So I have down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. Do that again. Down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, up. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's worth practicing all by itself if you're going to play any Celtic music, and if you want triplets, syncopated triplets in your playing sometimes. It's a great little introduction. Good Day Sunshine. So we've got that thing. So we got the skipping rhythm, and then we got the triplets. And now you're on your way to coming up with your own funky version of Good King Wenceslas. The hand jive rhythm is this. I'm not going to try to spell it out counting. I'm using a fingered D on all three strings here. Let's do it with a bar chord. Let's just do, I'll do this one. Maybe we'll just do the open strings. And if you remember, it's depending which way you do it, or with the foot holding the beat. 2, 3, 4. I can't do it at that speed. I have to do it faster. Skip that little demonstration. So we're going to put a cutoff in it. Let me see. I'm going to do the bar up here, so we can. No, maybe we'll just do a G chord. We'll do it that way. So it's down, 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 down. So the right hand is going. But the cutoff here. So let me get this out of the way so you can now just watch when my finger flexes. So the right hand's going. And the cutoff is going. Sorry, I messed that one up. When I slow it down that much, I lose it myself. So at least one of those up strums you've cut off on the down strum, and you're squeezing again on the up strum. So this rhythm that's all the right hand's doing. So that's the hand jive rhythm, we call that. Okay, so if you're going to play the chords so that and I'm choosing this 3 fingers form of the D here so that when I cut off, all the strings stop and I get that snare sound when I strum on them cut off. That actually might be visually easier to see where the cuts are. It's really hard to see when my fingers are moving. Let's see if I get them real close. We're just watch my left hand here. And one way of thinking of it a little bit is if you, instead of thinking I'm squeezing all the time and the changes when I loosen up, think of the standard state being just loosened up and squeeze. Slightly different rhythm, but I'm going squeeze, 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 and I'm just going cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha-cha with the pick. So you could get any kind of little rhythm going with this hand. Well, this hand just goes down, up, down, up, down in automatic. So anyway, so that's all the pieces, and you'll probably have to practice that a little bit to get that down. And here it is one more time slowly. And then so you down, up, down, up, down, up, and the hand jive rhythm can intersperse with each other. So you've got something like Good King Wenceslas, look out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even, brightly shone the moon that night, though the force was too well, and the poor man came inside, gathering winter fuel. So the conceit of that is that you have that sort of phrased thing, and then a whole another line just doing the same chord and holding it, or whatever the chord you were left on was. So it's, you know, Good King Wenceslas, look out on the feast of Stephen. But because we have this funky little rhythm, there's like something interesting to listen to in those little things in between, and then melody bits happen in those little things in between. So building this piece by piece, we got the hand jive rhythm, we've got the hand jive rhythm going to play the chords and sing it, and then the hand jive rhythm for the held chord, that long held chord in between, that is a little block where melody could come in later, and you just carry through the whole song that way, and you sing it with a little attitude, like the guy on the Mannheim Steamroller. So, Good King Wenceslas, look out on the feast of Stephen, when the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even. You think of deep and crisp and even. So you could do the whole thing with just a finger snap. Okay, now the reason I mentioned Jerry Garcia was that rhythm makes me think of a number of Grateful Dead songs, okay? That little rhythm and phrasing just makes me think Grateful Dead. So a Jerry Garcia type lead is the perfect thing to put in those little bits between when round the feast of Stephen. That's the kind of phrasing that Jerry loved. And so I'm going to show you a very quick way to make your own generic, and please don't quote me to any deadheads, Jerry Garcia-like phrasing, just to give you a sort of a doorway into the way he played. Now, his playing was much more intricate than what I'm going to show you, but this will give you a little concept. If you think, start with a scale. A scale on the, we're going to go just a little bit over time here. So now we've got, not on our little baby 4 or 5 note scale, but we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 different notes, about an octave and a half in key of D, that you could just play those. Play those in sequence. Let's just get that scale down. It doesn't matter exactly which fingering you use for it. You could even change them a little bit, but get those notes kind of that little da 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 in your mind, and then do it backwards. And you'll notice right away that the melody of Good King Wenceslas goes brightly shone the. It's a little scale sections in a few places in this song, so you've already got a head start on it. So get that scale kind of familiar. You don't have to like play it super fast. You know, you just have to be able to roll it off the tip of your fingers, kind of like, oh yeah, scale. D major scale. You want to say the notes while you do it? D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A. Did I say the F sharp over here? D, E, F sharp, G, yes. G, A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, A. And there's the notes. Okay, so the way to make a little lead in there, you could just play the scale. If you've got dump, 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 good King Wenceslas, look out. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Look out. I cannot possibly count how many down strums I'm doing there. You've got about, I think you've got either 4 or 8 beats, depending on where you name the beat there. So you've got the same length as the phrase. Then before you start singing, da 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 da. So you've got da 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 da, which is da 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 da. 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. Okay, so it's 2 4-beat measures plus there are up strums in there. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and you could just play the scale right there. You could just go. I think I left a note out. Yeah, there's one note short at the end there. Okay, so that's one way to play a little melody. So you got good King Wenceslas, look out. You know, and strum for as many times as you need to make up where you don't have notes. But that's, first of all, is a cheap trick, and it's fun actually to do it once in a while, but people will catch on very quickly, and if you do it 5 times in a row, it's going to be like, yeah, ho hum, they're practicing their scales while making me listen to them sing Good King Wenceslas. So how do you make that scale be as useful as something that you know automatically, but you want to make it more interesting than just going up or down the scale? Okay, so the way you do it is you do zigzags. And what a zigzag is, if you're taking 4, 3, 2, 1, 0 in a straight line going down, or 1, 2, 3, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. A zigzag would be to go down 2, 3 notes, and then go back up 1, and then can keep going down. Just like we did on Brightly Shone the Moon That Night. Perfect example of a zigzag. And what that does is that lets you stay within your little physical area that you're in, but you're buying a little extra time because you went up and back down again. So that you could go. So you could zigzag at any point. So as long as you're playing 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. It doesn't matter which one of those 4, 5 scale notes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, doesn't matter which one of those you play when you are making up the lead part. So you could just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and then just mix them up. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and. So basically, if you've got a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and thing going on, dump, ba-dump, dump, 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 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now that's up to speed, slower. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So to practice it, you're going to have to slow it way down. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Now, I'm just making that up because I'm used to zigging and zagging and doing all that stuff. You won't be able to do that at first, but if you start by doing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and you start just kind of wandering around on one string, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, now you're charging your battery with all kinds of little phrases. You might even do it with just one finger. While you're practicing. So you make a little phrase, just 2 notes, 3 notes, you can see there's a gajillions of combinations. So then the way you make up your little leads, if you're comfortable just sort of throwing your fingers around while you go 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. You're not even thinking melodically, you're thinking sort of mechanically, you're just throwing notes in a rhythm like that. But that will shift into being melodic at some point. So I'm just going to this is a whole chunk of stuff to work on from this lesson, so don't expect to get any of it, in one sitting. Again, you can, review the video, strumstick.com, and go to the page that has the lessons on it, and all the videos are listed there. You can see them on YouTube, and eventually I get them posted so you can see them directly on the website. But review the parts of this that you want to work on. So what I'm going to do at this point is I'm going to play us out by sort of illustrating some of the little leads and things that can go in there, just to kind of give you a sound set of possibilities for there. But what I just showed you is the essence of what I'll be doing here. Now, I might be steering them a little because I know that I've learned from experience that a certain phrase conveys a certain little emotional feel to it. So I might be thinking a little more melodically than just mechanically, but you actually wouldn't necessarily be able to tell the difference. If I played it totally mechanically and then I played it with feeling, you might say, hey, he played it a little better that time. I don't know what he did different. So feeling will matter, but you got to get the mechanics before you can start to actually add the feeling to the mechanics. So don't worry about that for now. So we got... Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. When the snow lay round about, evening crisp and even, brightly shone the moon that night, though the frost was cruel. When the cool rain came inside, getting into and it just keeps singing that verse. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Stephen. When the snow lay round about, deep and crisp and even, and shone the moon that night. I left the minors out sometimes. When da 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 working them into the B minor chord. just a rhythm for once in a while, just to open it up. So there's a whole lot of different little possibilities. You work on the little pieces and work your way up to them, but there's a whole bunch of little tidbits in there that are examples of zigs and zags. So everyone, be well, and I will see you next Thursday. And good luck with that. And send me any questions that you might have. Oh, and I do have a question. Yes, I'm going to basically drift towards the next several lessons being holiday spirit songs, and so you can be preparing for the December, and maybe have a little repertoire and do some stuff with your friends. Even if you do it online, or if you're people you're staying at home with, you can get them singing with you. So